The NBA and TNT could be nearing a settlement on their high-stakes lawsuit. We have some exclusive reporting on that. MLB's media future gained some clarity as Diamond Sports Group emerged from bankruptcy, and later we're chatting with the Buffalo Bills' Greg Rousseau. It's Friday, November 15th. I'm your host, Owen Poindexter, and this is Front Office Sports Today. In today's episode, we're chatting with our reporter AJ Perez on his story about the NBA and TNT having settlement talks that would clarify the league's media picture headed into its huge media deal. MLB's media picture is also coming into focus. We have new deals regarding the NFL Combine and an iconic F1 race, and later we'll hear from the Bills' defensive end Greg Rousseau before he takes on the Chiefs in a clash of NFL powerhouses. Here are your top headlines. Diamond Sports Group is coming out of bankruptcy after striking deals to broadcast the Detroit Tigers and Tampa Bay Rays. With those two, Diamond now holds contracts to broadcast 6 MLB teams, which was enough to assuage the concerns of a bankruptcy judge, the Braves, and MLB, the latter two of which had raised questions about Diamond's solvency. However, there will be changes to how fans can watch MLB games. In addition to Diamond's cable channels, now branded as FanDuel Sports Network, people can also purchase in-market standalone streaming packages for those teams through FanDuel's streaming app or Prime Video. Diamond remains in talks with the Royals as a potential 7th MLB team in its network, according to The Athletic's Evan Drellick. Speaking of the Rays, they finally have a new temporary home. With Tropicana Field devastated by Hurricane Milton, the Rays will be playing their 2025 season in Tampa at Steinbrenner Field, the spring training home of the New York Yankees. The following 2 years are still up in the air, and even the Rays' new stadium deal can't officially be counted on until Pinellas County supervisors vote to approve bonds to help fund the ballpark, which is due to open in 2028. The NFL Combine will remain in Indianapolis through at least 2026. Indianapolis has hosted the Combine since 1987, but other cities have been making bids at hosting the pre-draft event due to its rising popularity. What was once a lackluster scouting opportunity has evolved into a major off-season event for the NFL. The Combine features hours of live television coverage, and last year over 27,000 people came to Indy to watch in person. To the NBA, a former Phoenix Suns employee sued the team over several allegations of harassment, racial discrimination, and wrongful termination. Andrea Trishan, the Suns' DEI manager from September 2022 to July of 2023, also alleged financial misconduct, sexual misconduct, and racial discrimination by current and former team executives. Trishan was brought on in a tumultuous time for the Suns as then-owner Robert Sarver was under investigation for racial discrimination and creating a toxic environment for his employees. Sarver was all but forced to sell the team to current owner Matt Ishbia for a record $4 billion in December of 2022. Trishan has said she is seeking unspecified damages to be determined in trial, but the Suns said in a statement that the former DEI manager is seeking $60 million from the team. The NBA's and TNT's fraught relationship could soon find some resolve, as the two sides are rumored to be working toward a settlement. That could even potentially see TNT gaining a small NBA rights package after this year that would enable the network to keep making its award-winning Inside the NBA show. Senior reporter AJ Perez broke the news, and he joins the show to talk about all these possibilities and more after this. Joined now by Front Office Sports senior reporter AJ Perez. Welcome, AJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, great to have you on as always. So you and our colleague Mike McCarthy are reporting that TNT and the NBA are in talks to settle TNT's lawsuit around their bid to keep their NBA rights. What do we know about these talks?
Yeah, it's kind of been going back and forth the last few days. There's been kind of some buzz, like people are talking about, is there a settlement close? Is there something coming? And and we've been poking around for the last 24 hours, and no one's talking to us. So like the NBA's not talking to us. I've contacted several lawyers involved in both sides. WBD didn't get back to us after we kind of give them a heads up on the story. But there looks like there's going to be some kind of resolution before there's a hearing next week, but there's a bigger hearing in December. And so kind of that could be where the NBA has a motion to dismiss, and the judge could, in this New York State case, could dismiss this all, outright using New York state law, which is where this was filed in New York by Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of TNT, and they're basically using the law that the NBA won on back in the 70s. So that's how it's kind of all transpired.
And the law, I guess, as I'm going off your story here, is basically like, it's a free market. Is that the basic gist of it? That TNT can't say, we had this in our contract, and the NBA can't make this kind of offer to Amazon, because one of TNT's or WBD's contentions is that the Amazon offer was written in a way so TNT couldn't match it.
Yeah, basically the right of first refusal, which is common in all of these multimedia contracts, in these long-term deals with networks and leagues. There's always a window where the current partners get to match what the maybe kind of like we have two new companies here. We got NBC Universal coming back into the fold. So NBA back in the 90s and early 2000s was huge on NBC. Now they're getting it back. They got one of the package. ESPN retained a package, and now this third package went to Amazon, and Amazon has the ability through streaming to do things that Turner Sports can't. So that's the whole kind of there was, according to the NBA's filings, they see that as this part of a negotiation. That was it was a counter proposal, or versus their rights to match whatever Amazon paid. It was they add the whole streaming component of it. It kind of changes this, and according to the NBA's view, it's like apples and oranges. This what TNT bid on and what Amazon has now starting next season. They're just two different things.
Right, and the NBA is using that to say, like, Amazon's offering us apples, you're offering us oranges, therefore this is not a matching offer. And TNT's just basically saying, no, like, you made a deal with Amazon for this many NBA games to broadcast them. We also want to take those games at that price. And is that the essential nature of the dispute here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's going to be whether the right to match was violated with NBA making this deal with the Amazon, or that this proposal that what was agreed to between the NBA and Amazon is a separate kind of deal. It's not the same as what the TNT has had, and the TNT has had at the NBA since the late '80s. So it's been going on for a while.
I assume that, and maybe this is a false assumption, but I assume that if we're nearing a settlement, it will be a settlement in which TNT does not end up broadcasting NBA games after this year. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not. It's going to be, basically you got NBC coming back on board, ESPN, and now Amazon. Now, Mike McCarthy, who co-wrote the story with me and actually was the lead reporter on it, he kind of went into this on one of his latest Tuned In columns about a fourth package. Could there be giving some kind of some games to TNT just to keep inside the NBA, which is such a huge show, and probably it's kind of not even arguably anymore. It is the best studio show, pregame show in sports. And we've seen other networks trying to copy it, including TNT itself with its coverage of the NHL. It's really hard to replicate what Charles Barkley and everyone else, and Shaq and everybody else in the show does. And and the fans love it, and it's irreverent, and it's kind of really hard to recreate that. And obviously they could all go separately, or one of the networks one of the new networks starting next season could try to keep them all together. But the easiest route would be, TNT having a little bit of the NBA package. But that's probably part of the negotiation. We don't know, because these settlements aren't always about money. Could it be a pure money play if there's a settlement before the hearing or even after the hearing in December? Yes. But could there be some other kind of, how about we carve out this, these games, once a week somehow, just to keep TNT involved.
Right. And we've seen with the NFL, you can sign the biggest media deal in history and still find little ways to say, like, and actually, here's another 10 games that weren't part of this package, or we're just, creating them out of thin air. There are always games, there are always ways to make that happen. And yeah, to recreate, inside the NBA, you need those four guys. Like, there is no recreating it. There's just perpetuating it.
Well, one thing that could be in Turner's favor is the RSNs, the whole downfall of the RSN market. Some of these games might be a little more available than they were before. There's still these individual teams still have contracts, and they still, want local coverage of their games, but it's a much bigger deal to get on TNT than it is locally. Now, but you have to, it has to work financially as well for each of these NBA teams.
Yeah, my mind was starting to go there. I couldn't quite put the puzzle pieces together in real time, but yeah, I mean, NBA is kind of in the same boat as MLB and NHL, and obviously that's a shifting landscape there. But it feels like there's a deal to be made somewhere if someone got creative in terms of just finding games for TNT, in the local broadcasts, or making some of those national broadcasts.
Yeah, then you have and then the other side of it is, will that upset ESPN, Amazon, and NBC, who just paid billions for, or committed billions to the next several years? That's always a balancing act, and the NFL has managed to do it. The NBA could as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Should be very interesting. AJ Perez, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Formula One has struck a deal to keep the Monaco Grand Prix on the calendar through 2031. It's a move that could have some interesting ramifications in the racing world. For starters, this keeps Monaco as an F1 mainstay, at least for now. The race was one of several that were under threat, despite it being the series' most iconic race. That's partly because F1 is expanding across the globe and there are only so many races to go around, so some of the regulars might lose their spots. The other reason is that the spectacle of the race, which is basically a James Bond scene of expensive cars zooming through a classic European city, that cuts against the intrigue of the race because the track is tight and it's very hard to pass anyone, so the cars mostly stay in formation. With another 7 years on the books, there is talk of making adjustments to make the race more fun. The other big piece of this is that the race is now moving from late May to June, and that matters because that will allow F1 drivers to race in the Indy 500 if they so choose. Those races have pretty different fan bases, and the chance of cross pollination could be great for both of them. EA Sports is adding new players to its NHL 25 game, and we're not talking about rookie phenoms like Macklin Celebrini. Gamers will be able to play all 6 PWHL teams in the new game after EA struck a deal with the Women's League on the cusp of its second season. EA has made similar moves, adding female players to its NBA 2K24 game and EA Sports FC. In addition to just being a cool thing that creates a high quality game for fans of those leagues and doesn't hurt anyone who just wants to play the NHL teams, this could be a big deal for the PWHL. One of the hardest things about starting a new league is getting fans interested in the teams and especially the players. It takes watching a bunch of games to get to know players, strengths, and personalities and to develop favorites. Even if a game can't recreate all of that, it creates a basic level of familiarity so that people who play the game will feel a connection to the players when they watch them in real life. For a league that only just got team names, that's a huge boost. Greg Rousseau is about to play in what might be the game of the season when his Bills host the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. We spoke about playing for that team, his college experience, and plenty more. Here's our conversation. I'm joined now by Buffalo Bills defensive end Greg Rousseau. Welcome, Greg.
What's up? What's up?
Hey, great to have you on. So the Bills have been having a great season so far. What's it been like, in Buffalo, feeling the energy of the fans?
It's been pretty cool. Our fans bring it week in and week out, and yeah, we're just gonna keep on taking things week by week and keep just looking forward to the future.
Speaking of which, you got the Chiefs coming up. Um, they're undefeated as of now. I think a lot of people are looking toward you guys to see if you can break that streak. How do you prepare for such a unique, creative offense?
It's tough. They had a lot of good players. They do a good job running the ball, good job passing the ball, and yeah, there's a reason they're undefeated. So it's going to be a challenge for us, but we also see it as an opportunity.
Do you feel like just kind of like zooming out a little bit on your role as a defensive end? Do you think that position has changed in recent years? I know you haven't been in the league for all that long, but I'm
Mhm.
wondering if you felt like it's a position that has evolved over time.
I feel like all positions in football evolve year to year as offenses change or defenses go from running more split safety to less split safety, whatever it is. Teams might run the ball 1 year more or pass the ball the next year more. So I feel like all the positions kind of change, and it's kind of just if you're out there, just try to just do your job at a high level and kind of not put. I know at least for me, put too much pressure on yourself, thinking like I play this type of position, so I got to do this or that. Like no, you just got to do your job description on each and every play.
You guys have a new stadium incoming. It's under construction right now. How do you think that's going to change things for the team and for the fans?
It'll be pretty cool. They're building it right now. They're actually building it real fast. So to have the opportunity to play in a new stadium, that'll be dope. I know I'm looking forward to it.
People think of Bills fans as like a level above some other other fan bases. I think just because it's so cold there, sometimes
Mhm.
you see them out there in t-shirts going crazy. Um,
Yeah.
oh, do you think that Bills fans are like of a different you just like have a different energy to them?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they're the best fans in the league for sure. And I feel like just in Buffalo, the support whenever something happens, like if you need money for your foundation or whatever, like the Bills fans come just pouring out love. So I feel like they're a great fan base. They always pack out the stadium. They bring the juice week in and week out. Even when we travel to different places, whether it's Miami, Indianapolis, they always have a really good showing. Like a lot of fans always pull up to the game. So I mean, they really feel like they're a great organization. A great fan base, and they help out an organization week after week.
And is there any way that you can kind of feel it and how, like, Buffalo it's one of the smaller markets that the NFL is in. It's also not one with a lot of other major teams. You've got the Sabres in there, but it's,
Yep.
not like a New York or Miami where you just, you have every possible team you could have in there. Do you feel that on some level in terms of like what it's like playing there?
Yeah, definitely. There's like less to do. Like when you're in a bigger city, there's more things going on. So sometimes fans don't really show up as much. But out here, everybody's just locked in on the Bills on Sundays. So they always pack the stadium. It's always a great time.
And you're doing some work in your community, working with Campbell's. Tell me about what you've got going on there.
Well, Chunky Sacks Hunger is going to be donating 1,000 meals for every single sack on the field. So I've had the opportunity to be a part of that, and I feel like it's a really cool opportunity for just all the people out there that are going to be touched by this. I think it's a great thing that they're doing in the community. So I'm just glad I'm able to have a hand in it.
Yeah, very cool. I also wanted to touch briefly on your college experience and sort of what your thoughts on like what's going on right now. You're in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and the ACC is a conference where I think not too long ago we were looking at it as a conference that could be in trouble with Florida State maybe looking to leave, Clemson looking to leave.
Yeah.
Now it I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell year to year of like what to make of the little changes, but feels like potentially a conference that's back on the rise. Oh, what was your experience playing there?
It was a lot of fun. I feel like the ACC, it's real competitive, and that's why I feel like there's not a lot of juggernauts in the ACC because like you can lose any given week. Like you can lose to Pitt, North Carolina, whatever. Like just the teams are just so it's kind of like a free for all. So kind of at the end of the season, a lot of the teams I feel like end up with some losses, and you might say that's a bad loss, but I feel like it's just a competitive conference where you could win or lose any week. And like as you saw with Miami and Georgia Tech this week, Georgia Tech's not like one of the better teams in the conference, but they're still a competitive football team, and you can lose on any given Saturday.
Yeah, I think this is after your time, but we've got Stanford. We have California teams now in the
Yeah.
ACC. Is that weird for you to see, like with all the realignment?
Yeah, it is different for sure. But I feel like it's also a cool opportunity for the guys to kind of play against different teams and not be slotted just to play the teams here on the East Coast every year, but also being able to play teams across the country, travel all the way to California. I think that's pretty cool.
For you, I guess it could be college or NFL. What's your favorite place to go to play?
Uh, Hard Rock, that's my home stadium in college. So being able to go play in Miami is always a lot of fun. Being able to have my parents, my brothers, all my friends come to the game is always a pretty cool moment.
All right, yeah, very cool. It makes a lot of sense. Good luck against the Chiefs and the rest of the season. And Greg Rousseau, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Time now for Front Office Sports Tomorrow, where we look ahead to what's coming in the business of sports. The Houston Astros haven't played in the Astrodome since 1999, and the stadium has been closed since 2008, but now there is a $1 billion proposal to give it a second life. The plan calls for an entertainment center surrounded by restaurants and retail, all within the dome. It also includes connections between buildings inspired by the High Line in New York, and I don't know what to make of this particular proposal, but more things should be inspired by the High Line, which is awesome. The plan is already getting pushback from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which, like the Houston Texans, uses neighboring NRG Stadium, and say that the Astrodome proposal does not align with their own plans. That's it for today, and it's been too long since we ran the credits here. This show is edited by Daniel Myrick, produced by John Shames, and Bella Santos does our social videos. Leave us a rating and review wherever you like to tune in, or tell a friend about the show. For Front Office Sports, I'm Owen Poindexter. Thanks for listening. We'll see you for our weekend edition tomorrow.